There we go. Well, welcome to our July start focused call. I don't know about you guys, but it's like every month I'm like, and it's another month. It's another month. Like it just feels like, I don't know, we start one and then before we know it, we're already starting the next one. So what our goal here, not only on our call tonight, but also inside of our Redeem Her Time community is to be intentional with our time, right? Because we do know it's going to go by quickly. Summer has a way of going by really quickly. And if we are not being intentional, then our time and attention gets, scattered around to whatever happens to, be blowing in at that time. And then we often feel like, I really didn't give my time and attention to what mattered most. And so that's what we talk about around here, not only what matters in this season, so particularly summer, particularly the month of July, but also just in the bigger picture, looking at where God is growing us, where he's leading us, and what we're building for his kingdom for eternity. So that's kind of why we're here. But July is a really fun month. It's the peak of summer, right? There's usually a lot of fun stuff going on. Hence, probably a lot of people in our community are watching the replay from this one instead of being here live, because 4th of July week tends to hold a lot of family gatherings and things like that. So I want us to be able to enjoy all of those things, right? And to fully be present in what that is, whether that's traditions that we have going on, whether it's vacations, whether it's staycations. That's what I'm doing. We traveled a lot in June and we have a lot of travels in August because of some family events in both months. So July is I'm not planning to leave my zip code as far as I know for this time. And I'm really looking forward to it. So I'm curious for anybody who's on live, is there anything special about July for you? Whether it's something that's just kind of like a typical thing for July or something that's specific to this July, or maybe just something you want to make a priority.
We have a lot of travel, as you know.
Yeah.
And so we have another week coming up, not next week, but the following week. So lots and lots of travel, which means lots of swimming. So the boys are enjoying that.
Good. Yeah. And they're at a fun age to really dive into all of that. Yeah. We were
Yep.
just talking today about when my son was little. My son's home right now. He's 23. And so for whatever reason, we're talking about, remembering going to the lakes and the pools and, the different places we go swimming. Those are just fun memories. So yeah, I love that. That's cool. Good. Good. Anything special for you, Susan, that July holds for you, either on a regular basis or this month?
This month we are going to vacation again at a beach, so that will be fun. Lots of birthdays are in July. I'm not sure how many of them will celebrate, but I know this Saturday we have a celebration, and my family all lives near me, so it's not like we have to travel to go to those things.
Yeah. Nice. Good. That's not you calling me, is it, Aaron? It says California on my phone, but okay, just double checking that you weren't trying to get a hold of me or something like that. So fun. July is fun. You guys will be proud of me. I finally got the paddleboard out today, and it was not because I knew I was going to talk to you guys tonight, but it was because finally I had my husband home because he was gone for about half of the month of June. And so we were able to get it down and out. So got that out and got to enjoy that. And yeah, for us, it's going to be people coming to us. Our son is here. My parents are coming this weekend. We have some other out of town guests who are coming in a couple of weeks. So more me staying here and people coming to us, which I'm looking forward to. So let's enjoy summer because time goes by fast anyway. But anybody else feel like summer tends to go even faster, right? That time you want to slow down feels like it just ebbs right through our fingers. And so we want to make sure that we're getting that time back. So I want to show you guys a book. I'm actually about to finish the last chapter. This book is amazing. It's called Here Now by a gal named Kate Merrick, Merrick. She speaks our language. She talks a lot about disconnecting. I love, this is the tagline, what if our truest life is the one right in front of us? And yet we're missing it because we're so connected, quote unquote, to the wrong things. And Erin, you'll love this because one of the chapters, she talks about witness. Can I get a witness is what she called it. And I was like, oh my goodness, she is speaking our language. So the end of this, I mean, I like the beginning of this book, but the last couple of chapters have really been getting to the heart of what we talk about. So I'm going to find some way to maybe weave it in to something we do in here, but this would be it's not a heavy read, but it is a very, she tells a lot of stories. So that part's kind of fun and light. And yet there's some really hard things that go on in her life. And yet it also has some like really challenging things for you to think about too. So anyway, if you're looking for something to read on your trips, really, really, really good book. And talking about how we can, get our time back by connecting to what really matters. Because here's the thing. I don't know if you listened. I know, Susan, you listened to the podcast yesterday. Statistically, we are giving 4 hours a day to this thing, which totals up to 28 hours a week. That is over a 24-hour period of our life that we're giving to this in a week, which totals up to 112 hours in a month. You guys, that's like 4.7 days. That is a lot of our life that goes here. And yet we say, summer flies by. Oh, time goes so fast. I don't have time. Right. So we are doing a challenge this month. As I was just thinking about, freedom. I was thinking about 4th of July and just, I had some other ideas of where I was going to take that. And I felt like God was like, no, like this is what we need freedom from, because so often we're tied to this. So in the, episode 147 that came out yesterday, I laid all of that out and what that looks like, and laid out the challenge I'm putting out there for the rest of this month, which I know the two of you on here have already jumped in, but maybe there are people listening to the replay. You're not quite sure what we're talking about. So let me give you an explanation of what that looks like. So we're calling it the Declaration of Digital Independence Challenge. And it's going to look a little bit different for everyone, but I'm asking you in some way to disconnect from this. You don't totally have to like box this up for the month. Although if you do, you're my hero. I think there are things, Susan, we talked about this today, that like we need our phone for, right? We need our social media for, things like that, but not as much as we often give our time to it. So everyone gets to decide, what is it that I'm going to do this month? In what way am I going to disconnect or make a digital fast with something on my phone? And then what is that going to open up space for? What am I going to be able to do with that? So I'll go first and share what mine is. And if you guys are willing to share, that'd be really great, since I know the two of you have already put it out there so other people can get inspired. Feel free to beg, borrow, steal our ideas or kind of tweak them to make them your own. But I know for me, like it can be something that's just like in my hand, or like I'm picking up more often than I want in the evening time. And that's when my family is just like being together. So I've decided that as soon as dinner is over, and the only reason I say dinner's over is because if nobody's in the kitchen, sometimes I'm listening to a podcast I'm finishing up while I'm washing dishes or cleaning the kitchen or things like that. So as soon as that's done, this goes to bed in my bedroom. It was interesting because it went to bed at like 7:00 yesterday. And there were things I, kept thinking about in the evening. And I was just like, okay, it can wait till tomorrow. I don't need it, so it definitely is a mindset shift, but it's going to bed. So that way I can just be fully present with my family and whatever it is that we're doing. Maybe it's reading a book, maybe we're watching something, maybe we're just playing a game or having a conversation, but just doesn't need to be part of my evening refill. So that is what I'm doing. Erin, do you want to unmute? Do you mind sharing what you are doing and what that's going to look like for you?
Sure. So I did it, because as soon as I posted what I was going to do, which is I'm going to delete Facebook from my phone, I knew if I waited, I wouldn't do it. So I went and I deleted it. I had already actually taken it off my home screen. So I had to search for it. So whenever I wanted it, I have to type in Facebook. But it was like, when I go to search, it was my number one app of what I searched. So I didn't even have to search anymore. I was like, just click on it. So I said, no, because my argument is I use it to, keep in touch with friends and family, but I also use it to post my blog. But then I realized, you know what? I can post to Instagram and it would post to Facebook, and I don't have to have Facebook on my phone because I get sucked into the Facebook watch. That is a bunch of time and usually useless. So I deleted it.
All right.
It's not on my phone. Little freaky, but it's all right.
Yeah. Wow. It'll be really interesting to see, like, do you even notice that it's not there, or like how often you think about it and what that looks like as time goes on? And it's up to you. If at the end of the month you are like, okay, I feel like I have a healthy relationship with this now, I think I do want it back on here. Or you may be like, you know what? I really don't even want or need this on here at all. I've got a new normal that I'm going to continue. So yeah. Yep. And what I love is that, I think you brought up a really good thing. We can be on some of these apps in a different place that's not so accessible. Right? Because it takes a little bit more effort for me to get in front of my computer, right? And open it up and go find it and all of that. It's not as much fun. Right. I'm not just mindlessly picking up my computer to do that. It takes like a lot of intention. So I think that's going to really help shift some things there for you. So I love that. Susan, I know yours is around Facebook. Do you mind sharing what yours is going to look like this month?
I'm just going to get on it 1 hour a day, and that will be more towards the late morning, afternoon, or just periodically, but just for 1 hour. And I have done that so far today. So
Yeah.
I, but I also caught myself going, okay, well, I don't know how much longer you got in your hour, but you may be losing it right now.
Yeah. Right. So do you have like an app that you use then that like shuts it off, or how do you like know when you're at the
Facebook is
foul
supposed
place?
to have something on there that
Okay.
only allow, I mean, it doesn't allow you, but it'll time for you, and then it'll
Yes.
pop up and say, you've used your hour. Do you want to do, you know,
Yeah. That's
go
great.
so I'm
That's,
gonna see if it works, but I haven't used an hour yet, so I'm
yeah.
happy about that.
I love that. I love how like both of these are related to the same app, and yet they're different ways of coming at this for that dependence, right? One of them is I'm not going to access it on my phone. I'm only going to access it on my computer or via Instagram where I'm not sucked in. And the other one is I'm going to put some healthy boundaries around what that time looks like. And both of those are just really great ideas. So I hope if you're listening to the replay that, one of the three of us has inspired you in some way. Make sure you go into, you can either do it on the post that was from the actual episode, or there's a post that's pinned to the top today that you can go in, put your declaration, what is it? And we're going to keep coming back to this topic. So we talked about yesterday on the podcast how often we pick up our phone, how much time is going there. Next week on Tuesday, we're going to be talking about why we pick up our phone. And I'm sharing the top 10 reasons why most women pick up their phone. So make sure you listen to that and kind of see like what of these reasons are resonating with me. And then the more we're aware, we always talk about this, awareness is going to lead us to change. And then the next episode, we're talking about the where we tend to pick up our phone and those little like moments. And sometimes there are certain places that we're more prone to do that. So that as we build this awareness, it's going to help us then to do something different about it. And then instead, right, the goal is to be more present with the people, with the things, with the events, even just with yourself, with the Lord, right? Instead of always having some scrolling screen or something flashing at you all the time. So that's the goal of what we're doing. I really encourage you. I had a friend tell me today, I reached out to her and she said, oh my goodness, I'm going to share this with some of my friends because I think we all want summer to be, we all want to be more present in the summer, any season, but especially, if we have kids home from school or things like that. So I encourage you, if you have other friends that you're like, hey, come do this challenge with us. It's a free community, just invite them in. There is an invite link that's direct to you that's up in the menu bar of when you either go on the app or on the home screen. If you're on your computer, so you can just go there and send them that direct link and they can just come on in and we'll welcome inside here. So all right. Well, good. And just so you guys know, our community has been growing. So I don't know where everyone is finding us, but some people are coming from the podcast. Some people are coming from other places they've heard, me talk. Some are coming because they're by invite. So it's been really exciting to see some new faces popping in and joining us and saying, yes, I want to make the best use of my time, not only in this season, but also in light of eternity. So before I forget, before we get into our Start Focus system and look at the month ahead, I do want to announce our Lila of the month for the month of June. So for those of you who might be new, Lila's is short for Love You Like a Sis, because I think, we're sisters in Christ, right? And we're here to love one another. Sometimes it's tough love, but that's what we're here to do. And so every month I go in and I look and see who's been really engaged. And that can be because you're just commenting and liking things. It can be because you're liking or commenting on what somebody else says. Some people, have been coming in. I want you guys to like ask questions or post something you read, or, hey, here's a verse that really stood out to me, like that kind of thing. So this month, our Lila of the month is Jana. So Jana, congratulations. When you are selected as the Lila of the month, you get a free 15-minute coaching call. And we do that live inside the community so that everyone can benefit from the things that we're talking about. So that's my gift to you and then to the rest of our community. So if you want to be the Lila of the month for July, then this is a great month to, again, it's not going to suck you in like Facebook, right? I mean, it's so funny, Erin. I can tell when you're on because I'll get like all these notifications like right in a row because I don't have notifications on hardly anything in my phone, but I do for this. Just because I don't check it every time I see a notification, but I want to make sure I'm, kind of paying attention to it. And so it's funny because Erin will get on and I'll be like, notification, notification, notification. So I always laugh. You make me smile, Erin, when you get in there. But I mean, like really, how much time do you spend when you come in the group, Erin? 5 minutes, maybe?
If
10?
it's 5, that's long,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah. So this is not a time suck is what we're saying,
No.
right? Hopefully
Yeah.
it's a check in. get some things that are going to inspire you, encourage you, challenge you, and then go do it, right? That's the goal. And the goal is to come out feeling like more encouraged, inspired, uplifted and things like that as well, which doesn't always happen with those other apps. So yeah, it's not going to suck you in, but there is value coming out every day. So yeah, come be engaged in there. So, okay, well, let's look at the month of July. Here's one thing I was thinking about today. In fact, I was actually working on a podcast episode that's going to come out next week. Sometimes in summertime, it's like, I'm not going to make plans, right? It's summertime. I'll just kind of like let things fly. And I was thinking about like the times when I've done that, I've actually felt more like scattered and more frustrated and more whatever, because not only maybe the tasks that I wanted to get to, I didn't get around to, but I also really didn't get around to spending the time with the people or with the Lord that I really wanted to, because without any kind of boundaries around our time, it's like anything is fair game, and who knows if it's going to happen or not happen. So I just want to encourage and challenge you to have some kind of a plan when you go through even a month like July, because it's going to help you to be intentional about the things that matter. But it doesn't mean you have to be super strict. I like to say you can have a light structure or you can have a tight structure, right? So if you have a week that you have a lot you need to do, you might want to have a little bit more, everything laid out, but it may just be more a little bit of a light structure. But either way, it's going to help you focus where your time is going, because you've put some thought into this process we go through where we preview. So we are going to use our focus system. If you don't have a copy of this in front of you, you can find it at redeemhertime.com/focus. And I was showing Susan this before we started. I just stuck mine like in one of these little page protectors. So that way I could just have it next to me. You can print it out each month and write things in there. Use it however you want. But this is a great system that I put together just after doing this enough myself. You can use this for the month ahead. You could also use it for the week ahead. You could also use it for the day ahead. So it's really adaptable. It doesn't matter what kind of time frame you're looking at. But the first part is going to start with a brain dump, because I don't know about you, but sometimes I've got all these things swirling around in my head. Oh yeah, I should do this. I need to do this, especially Susan, well, both of you who are on live, I know you're heading on trips soon. So you get this list going in your head, not only of the stuff you have to pack, but then of, I got to make sure I stop the mail. I got to talk to the dog sitter. I got to water the plants. I gotta, get this project done before I leave. I gotta clean up the fridge, like all those random things. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with a brain dump, because instead of it all being up here and scrambled and us trying to, create space for it and keep it up here, let's get it somewhere. Just because you write it down doesn't mean it's for sure gonna happen, but at least we're gonna get it out of here so we can look at it, right, and do something with it. So I'm just gonna set a timer for about 2 minutes. That may or may not be enough time. It may just be what gets you started, but we'll go ahead and just start with 2 minutes to brain dump as much as you can that is on your mind and heart for the month of July. And then we'll jump into the 5 steps from there. Okay, got some stuff down out of your head. If there's anything else that's kind of right there at the top, go ahead and put that down. when it comes to like looking ahead at my month, I love using a big desk size monthly calendar, right? There's something about being able to see the entire month. So you can see where things are ebbing and flowing and things like that. In fact, mine ends here in July. So that just this morning I was like, I need to order a new one. So I can share the link. I think it was called like Bloom or something like that. It was off of Amazon. But it's really pretty and it's got lots of space and it has a place for my notes over in the side. So when I do this process, I can have it in front of me all month long. So find a system that works for you, but there's something about, we can't always track everything on digital devices, especially if they're not laid out like for a whole month. So highly recommend having something in front of you that shows the whole thing. So, okay. We are going to go through the focus system, and it's called FOCUS because number one, that's what our goal is. And number two, we are using the acronym FOCUS for each one of the steps. So step number one is feel and flow. And we always choose an anchor word, right? We always stop and think before I get into anything else, how do I want this next month? You could also ask the same question for the day or the week if you're doing it for that, to feel and or flow, right? What's that word? And, for those of you who've done this with us before, an anchor word is a way to kind of check in with yourself throughout the month and say, if I say yes to this, is this going to help me feel, maybe your word is connected, right? So maybe you're wanting to really connect with your family. Like, is this going to help me be more connected with them or not? Or just kind of throughout the day, week, or month, just pause and say, like, what am I doing to be connected right now? So it's kind of what brings us back to that place that we want to be. So that way we've got that anchor there to keep us from drifting everywhere else. So sometimes the word can be the same from month to month. Sometimes it's something different. But if you want to unmute and share your word for the month, fantastic. If not, at least make sure you've got it written down.
My word is organized.
Oh, yeah. I like that word. Is there a specific area that you want that to be organized in, or just overall you want that to feel that way?
For this month, it's to be organized and ready for vacation, and organized and ready to get my son's apartment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Good. Hey, one just kind of like little token I'll throw in there. When you do things like packing for vacation, you know how typically before you leave on a trip, you kind of have the same things that you have to do, right? Make sure the mail is paused, make sure you got your plants watered, you got someone to watch the dog, whatever. This time when you're getting ready for your trip, like maybe pull out Google Doc and just make a list of those things. So that way, the next time you go on a trip, you don't have to like try to remember, what do I have to do? You literally, anything that's recurring, if you're part of, Erin knows this, she's in my my group coaching program, anything that's recurring, we create a routine around. So yes, you're not going on vacation every single month or every single week or things like that, but it could be triggered. Oh, I'm going on vacation. Oh, I already pulled this out and now I have some place to start with. And of course, there might be some different things based on if you're going skiing or if you're going swimming or whatever. But yeah, since you guys both are getting ready for trips, think through, how could I create a system around this so I don't have to like, hold all this stuff in my head every single time. So organized. I like that.
Mine's related in that I want it to be focused, which is odd for July, but there are things I really, really want to accomplish. And maybe there's a better word, because focus to me seems not something I want to do in July yet. What I just want to be able to accomplish things and stay focused until it's done.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be a bad thing. I think sometimes we can think focus is, but like, think about, when I accomplish this, what will it allow me to focus on? Right? When I accomplish this before I leave on my trip, then I can focus on my family. When I accomplish this for your blog or your business, now I can focus on my house or, the trip or whatever that other thing is. So kind of think about, what is this going to let me do? Yeah. Well, it's funny. We're all kind of have a similar pattern. My word I wrote down was ahead, which just because this month I'm here and I know I have a lot coming up next month. So I'm really trying to work ahead in a lot of areas. So that pulls in the organized, it pulls in the focus, because I'm really using this time when I'm more, at home to really get ahead, because I know I have this time coming up next month where I'm not going to be, and I will be completely unplugged during that time. So good. Well, keep that word somewhere where you will be reminded of it. Maybe it's on the screensaver on your phone. Maybe it's a Post-it note on your computer, on your refrigerator, on your mirror. It's just we have to keep these things in front of us because we forget, right? And so easy to drift off. And the sooner we can kind of pull ourselves back with that anchor word, I think, the less time we're going to waste on things that don't matter. So love that. Okay. The O stands for one thing. So one of the things that we do here at Redeemer Time is, yes, there are a lot of good things in our life. There are a lot of things we could be and should be, right, giving our time and attention to. But first of all, not everything matters equally, and not everything matters all at the same time. So we always pull out each month, what's one thing that really does matter? And this is based on the book, The One Thing by Gary Keller, who, as in Keller Williams Realty. So he knows what he's talking about, right? Because he's built very successful business. But the one thing question helps you to focus on where you're going to give some really directed time and attention. And here's the one thing question. What's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be, he says, easier or unnecessary. I say, you can put your anchor word in there, right? So Susan, what's the one thing I can do such that everything else will be organized, right? Or Erin, what's the one thing I can do such that everything else I will be able to focus where I need to focus, right? So it kind of helps us go, instead of trying to say, I'm going to do all these things, to go, if nothing else happened this month, this one thing would really make a difference, would really move the needle. So there are three pieces to this part. What is your one thing, right? We have to identify it. We have to name it. We have to call it out. What is it that I'm going to do about it? Maybe it's actually completing that entire one thing in that month, or maybe it's just a step towards it. And when will I do it? I think that one is really key, because maybe it's timely. It needs to happen before your trip. Maybe you're like, I don't have time for this before my trip, but as soon as I get back, this is really going to need my attention. Or maybe it's something that happens a little bit throughout. So it could be something daily. Like maybe, you just know, I tend to have a lot of just angst and anxiety and not feeling peace when I'm not spending time in the Word each morning. And so maybe it's going to be something little that you do each day. Or maybe it's a project. And so there's something you're working on that is more project based. So it can be a habit, type thing, or it can be a project type thing that's like, I'm working to complete this, or it can be kind of something in between. But we're identifying what's your one thing. What's that one thing that you want to make sure, this is numero uno, right? The top of my list. What will I do about it? And when will I do it? And again, you may not know every detail of that right now. That's okay. That will come. I challenge you to sit down and really map that out and what that looks like for this month. But at least let's identify it and get some ideas around it. So let's do that one thing section, and then we'll come back and share. One thing, what you will do, when you will do it. Not required to share, but if anyone wants to. Sorry, my internet connection is a little unstable. Let me switch over to my hotspot. So it might pause for a minute here, but let me see if I can switch over. We've got storms and our internet always is a little bit funky when that happens. Okay, it's not even giving me as an option, which is kind of interesting. And I don't want to like turn it all the way off, because then you're totally going to lose me. So hopefully it's not too bad. I saw it kind of come up a couple times saying it was down. I'll see if it pops back up again here, but
Right now you sound fine. There have been
okay.
times you've been in and out, but you've been sounding.
Okay. Yeah, actually, this is funny. My husband is building a cell tower in our backyard. It's going to be 110 feet tall. Yesterday, he painted the poles. Like, this is like legit, you guys. So now we have these cables we have to attach, apparently, and then we can actually have a satellite on top of it and get really good internet here, Lord willing. So yeah. Okay. Anybody want to share your one thing for the month? And this is a great time if you want or need input on it, that we can do that as well.
I'm really focusing on my book because my deadline is coming up next month, and I need to really be focused on it to complete it by deadline.
Nice. Nice. Your deadline's by your birthday, right? Is that what you're doing? Shooting for?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Exciting. Very cool.
Yep.
I don't really have.
Go ahead, Susan.
Oh, go ahead.
Nope, go ahead.
Oh, I mean, I really don't have this a thing, but I was trying to get clarity of my mind each day so I could start focusing on a couple of things that I could get done that day to prepare, whether it be, today I need to pull the beach chairs out and get them cleaned, or organize through his boxes and things like that. So that was,
Sure.
I how to name it. It's just to be focused on getting some things done.
Yeah, no, I love that. That fits in with your organized word, right? What if each day your one thing is to make a list of your top 3 and say, these are the 3 things that need my attention today, right? I always say, don't do more than 3 because otherwise you would get overwhelmed or things get lost in the shuffle or whatever. Like, and maybe it's just one thing. Maybe each day it's just one main thing that needs your attention and focus. But here's even a better bonus tip. Decide on that the night before. Right. I like to say before I go to bed, I already know waking up what my focus is. It's way too easy to get sucked into something or somewhere or whatever, and then be like, oh, well, I never got to that, or, oh, but if we wake up with that intention.
And that also clears your mind.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So no, that's a great one thing. Right. And I would say kind of decide when in my day am I going to do that and make that a consistent habit. And that way it's going to help you be organized. So good, good. I am working on the Redeem Her Time coaching program. The first group is finishing up next week. So I'm finishing that up, tweaking some things in the back end, and then getting things ready to launch the second option, which is going to be hopefully doors open moving forward so people can come in at any time, starting at the end of August. So that's my one thing, is getting all that back end stuff done before we get to that point. So okay, C is for commitments, right? Here's where we're going to look at our month. And again, here's where it's really nice if you have a paper calendar in front of you, or if you don't, at least pull out your digital calendar. And I want you to make sure that you are thinking ahead about the commitments you have. Now, for those of us who are traveling this month, that is a commitment. Make sure you can visibly see that blocked out on your calendar, because it helps your brain see, oh, this time is already marked off for something else. Maybe there are appointments that you have, maybe there are meetings that you have. We have some extra things at church this month. We have some family that's visiting. I have some, places I have to show up at certain times, so kind of what are those commitments, those places where your time is already committed. Make sure that stuff is down on paper and not, again, floating up here, because it's way too easy to like, oh yeah, I remember this. And then it doesn't happen, right? So take a minute, look ahead at this month. What commitments do you have? And, is there anything that you need to make sure gets down on some kind of a paper format in front of you? Those birthdays, Susan, I was just writing a birthday on mine. That could be a commitment thing on there. I have a lot of appointments this month. Okay, the U sometimes has overlap with the commitments. Sometimes it's a little bit different. So you can decide, kind of what this looks like, but U is for upcoming. So I want you to think ahead, right? Not only we're in the first week of July, so I'm thinking ahead to weeks 2, 3, and 4, but I also want you to think ahead about those first couple weeks of August. Because here's what happens, right? We're just like focused on the month in front of us. We flip the calendar, and then there's like something that we're like, oh my goodness, I wish I would have been thinking about this ahead. Maybe it's not even anything you need to do anything about in the month of July, but at least having it in mind. Oh yeah, that's right. This is coming up, in the beginning of August, especially because August is a month of a lot of transitions, whether it's kids back to school or, just kind of going from summer routines to fall routines, or whatever it is that next month holds. There can be a lot coming up, and it's helpful to kind of anticipate what's going to need your attention coming up. And, if there are things you can start doing now, that will make that even smoother. So what is upcoming that you need to make sure gets on there?
We have our third trip next month, and my mother's 70th birthday will be around that time. So we need to plan something special for that.
Yeah, that's a big thing. Like birthdays, so whether it's we're going to be there, or I just need to make sure I get a card out to them before I leave on this trip or whatever. We've had a lot of kind of significant birthdays this summer too. So that's a good thing to be thinking ahead about for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I've had this like in the back of my head, but our son is getting married in August. And so my husband and I get like 7 minutes of the microphone at the reception. So I need to really nail down what we're going to do with that 7 minutes. And that is, and he's going to be gone for most of the month of August. So I need to work on that ahead of time with him. Okay. The S is for simplify. Right? Because even with great intentions, we only have so much bandwidth. We only have so much time. We only have so much energy. And not everything, like we said, matters equally or matters all at the same time. So if you've been through the 4 Ds with me, you're familiar with this process. But this is where it might be really helpful to grab that brain dump out. Can even relate to things that are already on your calendar, although sometimes those commitments are things that you've already committed to and you're not going to back out. But we go through and we apply the 4 Ds. The first question is, what can I delete? Those are the things that really don't matter at all, like ever. Sometimes there are things we do just out of obligation or expectation, or because we've always done that. Is there anything that's on that brain dump list? Is there anything that's on your calendar that really just doesn't, like, a month from now, 2 months from now, a year from now, 5 years from now is not going to matter if it didn't happen? Sometimes those are the hard ones because we think everything is important, but I'm going to challenge you to look and see if maybe there's at least one thing that you had somewhere that doesn't have to happen. Like I'm fine. I found one thing that my eye just went right to it on my list that, what, this is just one extra thing. Sure, it'd be great if I could do it, but the earth will not fall off its axis. So that is going off my list. Okay, the second D is what can I delegate? So these are the things that do matter, but you are not the only person who can do them. Now, Erin, you've got young kids. So sometimes in that stage of life, if you leave it up to them, it may or may not get done, or you may be redoing it anyway. But whether it's a spouse, whether it's a child, whether it's, some other way, maybe there's someone else who has bandwidth. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday about something, and she's like, that's just not in my wheelhouse. I'm just not good. And in my mind, I was like, because I'm trying to make this decision about, am I going to pay someone to help me with this project, or am I just going to DIY it myself? And I'm thinking, if I do this, I could probably do it myself, but it's probably going to take me a lot of time and energy. And I've got way too many other things on my plate right now that only I can do. And I know the perfect person who I could pay to do this, and it would be amazing and probably save me a lot of time and money. So I haven't made the final decision yet, but I'm fairly sure that's the direction I'm going to go, because I just know that way it'll happen well, and it didn't all have to be done by me. So maybe it's just asking a family member to do something so that it's not all on your plate. Maybe it is paying someone to do something who has that expertise or that time, or that's what they do. Maybe it's trading services with someone. You're really good at something, they're really good at something. You're like, hey, let's swap. And sometimes we can get creative around this. Maybe it's creating a system, or finding an app, or a program that's going to help you organize whatever this is, so that way it makes it something easier. But look at your list, see, is there anything on here that I can delegate? I'm not the only person that can make this happen this month. And that always feels good. Sometimes it's a little scary to hand things off to somebody else, but I don't know about you, but whenever I've done that, then usually after the fact, I was like, I'm I'm so glad. Okay, the third D is what can I delay? So delay is not the same as procrastinate. We talk about this every month. I feel like a broken record when we say this, but procrastinate is I should be doing this now and I just don't feel like it. So I'm going to intentionally like ignore it. That's not what we're talking about. We're saying this is important. I am probably the person who needs to do this, but it doesn't have to happen in this time frame, right? So for example, those of you guys going on trips, sometimes we've got great, I want all these things to happen before I leave, but does it have to happen before you leave, or can it be delayed until after you get back, right? Can it be delayed until August or until September when the school year starts up again? It doesn't mean it's not important, but maybe something else really needs your time and attention right now, or maybe you can't give your full time and attention to that thing in this time frame to really, do it well. And so intentionally, we kind of take it from July and we put it not just in some arbitrary, I'm hanging out there somewhere land, but like put it down in August 1st and then readdress it on August 1st. Okay, so does this fit for this month? Or maybe it's, hey, I get back from my trip on the 25th. And so I'm going to take a look at this again on the 26th. And, so you decide where you're going to put it. Here's the rule that my friend came up with. I thought was fantastic. Every time you delay it, you put a star or some kind of a mark next to it. And if you have 3 marks next to it, then you really need to stop and say, is this something that should be deleted instead? Like, does this really matter? If I've been able to put this off so many times, or is there someone that I could delegate this to if it really does matter? Sometimes they're just things that, yeah, it's still a great idea or still something I would like to do, but just, I don't even know when it's going to happen. Then I put it in a parking lot, right? So like I have a notebook of just those parking lot ideas or parking lot things that I want to get to someday. I'm not a big proponent of someday plans because they never happen. But sometimes I want to hang on to that idea, but it just isn't fitting anywhere, anytime that I can see soon. So just park it there. And then it's somewhere, you can always go back to it. And if you forget about it, well, life probably just went on without it, right? So is there anything that you can delay? Okay, and the last D is delight. I love this one because it gets us being intentional about not just doing things, but also being, right? What is something that you want to do this month that will be delightful? Whether it's delightful to the Lord, whether it's delightful to you personally, whether it's delightful to people that you're around, something that you want to intentionally make sure is happening this month because it's just going to bring joy, right? Yeah, maybe it didn't have to be done. Yeah, maybe you weren't the only person, but it's just something that is going to bring joy to the Lord, to you, or to somebody else. So your goal is to have at least one delight thing this month that you're intentionally doing that's going to fit in that category. I am writing in a lake day because we've been wanting to get to this nearby lake and we haven't. So it's going on my calendar. Okay, so how are you feeling looking at your month of July now? You feel like you have some kind of a picture as to kind of like, okay, where am I going? What matters? Where does my focus going to go, right? This is kind of like that big, like I'm just getting a bird's eye view of what the month looks like. What I highly recommend that you do, we're in the first week of July right now. So if you haven't done this already, kind of plan out like, okay, today's Wednesday. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, what things are my priorities those days? What is it that I want to make sure gets my focus? And then I always say preview the week before Monday morning starts, right? Because we all know how Monday mornings are, especially when you don't have a plan and then you kind of are putting it off and things like that. Like, so whether it's you do that on Friday afternoon or you do it on Saturday, for me, I love doing it Sunday morning when my family's still in bed. We don't have anywhere we have to be yet because we don't leave till later for church. And I just got my quiet time and I've been in the Word, I've been praying, I've got my coffee, and I can just preview my week and pray over where my attention is going. So I'm going to challenge you to make sure you're planning that time in. So that way you can flex too when life happens and things come up that you weren't planning on when you looked at the whole bird's eye view, of the entire month, that now you're kind of going smaller week by week. And then again, each day, ideally the night before, so that way you've got a picture of what the next day is going to look like. but that's going to help us to be intentional and to not just be on that Sunday plan and have great intentions that don't ever get the action behind them. So, okay, well, good. Well, I hope this is helpful. Make sure whenever you've got plans or you've got an anchor word, you keep that out, because I feel like out of sight, out of mind, especially in the summertime. So that's a good kind of clutter to have around. Those reminders, they're going to keep you, focusing where you want to be. And I'm excited to hear what happens in our group as we're disconnecting more and more from this thing and actually being more present with the people who are in front of us. Anything else anybody wants to share, ask, comment on, or whatever before we end tonight? Lots of fun stuff ahead. Let me look real quick. My calendar, like I just said, my big monthly calendar ends the end of this month. So, okay, we usually do this on the first Monday of the month, which means August 7th will be when we do our next Start Focused call. So that'll be on you then for that first week of August to make sure that you're being intentional. So maybe kind of pull that into the end of July when you think about those things. And then we will do our focus call on the 7th. So keep engaging in the group, ask questions, reach out, share, encourage, support one another. And let's see what God does this month as we redeem our time. All right. Thanks you guys for being on live tonight. Thanks for those of you watching the replay. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. See you.
Yeah, bye-bye.